In this Task 3A lesson, we're going to look at the harmony vocals and the vocoder. I spent quite a lot of time on this, looking at the processing and looking at how to achieve the results of what they've got. And actually, it's quite complex, and it does take a lot of experiment. So I might not do the greatest job of explaining to you what I've done today, because I've gone through a lot of different configurations to try and get what I've got. And even after today, I'm still going to have to go into it even further and kind of rejig it. So let's just have a look at this, and let's have a look what's happened since we last spoke. One of the things I had to do since I last did the main vocal lesson is I've had to bring all the volumes down. The mix was starting to get away from me quite considerably, actually. And remember, when we get to the mixing stage and the mastering stage, we do need headroom. So it's really important when you look at this output stage that we've left our dial at 0 dB and that we've got maybe 3 or 4 decibels of headroom. Where I was at the last lesson, it was just going straight into the +6s, so I had no headroom to play with. So I've had to bring that down across all the channels, and this has caused a few problems in itself. So if I go to the automation channels now, and you just go through, what I've had to do, if you press Alt and click on the first dial, you'll notice that it selects all of them, and I was able just to bring them down. But then it started to throw my mix off because things were happening in different parts. So be very, very careful when you're actually bringing the volumes down across all these tracks. One train of thought is to bring everything down by the same amount, and I tried that and it still threw my mix off a little bit. So I had to go back through all of these settings and just adjust. And once again, this is still not finished, but the idea with adjusting my settings at this point was just to give myself more headroom. If you remember from the last lesson, when we looked at this main vocal, there was distortion all over the place. And that wasn't that the recording was bad, the recording was fine. That wasn't that the processing was overly bad, although it was quite hard compressed. It was just mainly because everything was needing to be pushed to kind of hear out. So that's one train of thought. One thing I would say to you is what you're going to realise when you do start bringing all the volumes down is that everything starts to sound a bit wafty. And all I'd say to you is get your gain or your volume dial on your recording interface and just turn that up instead. Another thing before I move on to this lesson is I've also brought the volume down on this main track to kind of get a relevancy of how it's working when this volume's down. Because what you've got to remember about their track is it has been mastered. So it's kind of embellished quite a bit. So there's the kind of playoff. Bring the volumes down, get a bit of headroom, otherwise you will not be able to do what you want to do when we get to the mastering stage. Now let's look at these vocals and these backing vocals and this vocoder section. So here it is here. It starts over in bar 17 or bar 16, and then it's going to repeat itself in this second chorus up here. So just be very aware that a lot of the processing that I've done, I will kind of have to do it here. And to achieve most of what I've got, I've just literally copied the main vocal into these parts and doubled it up a couple of times. You are allowed a maximum of 3 audio tracks, so just be very aware of that. Another way of achieving this is like what I've done with the harmony, is I've actually just typed in the notes from the score, used the vocoder and tried to achieve a similar effect. And the same with the vocoder. The vocoder is actually kind of an audio track, so you've got to be very careful. And I've literally just used the MIDI and a vocoder instrument without any audio on that. So you do only have a maximum of 3 audio tracks. You have to be very, very careful of that. There is an extra part just here. So what I'm hearing, let's start with this harmony vocal. If I just solo this, and this is the vocoder section, what I'm hearing is this. Okay, and let me just play there so you can kind of hear what they've got, and you will hear the vowels coming through on their vocal. So they're kind of going, whoa, whoa. So, if you want pure authenticity, you do have to kind of use a vocal piece of audio. But we do only have 3 tracks of audio that we can use. So how I've achieved this track. Using the vocoder instrument, I've just come up with these settings. So we've got this tubular pipe that we're using. And you're going to want to experiment with some of the frequency settings. As you can see, my one is set fully wide. And my levels are set just above half. And what else have I changed here? I think maybe the cutoff is just ever so slightly higher than this one, and this pitch LFO has been brought up a little bit. One of the main things here is you'll notice that you can actually sync the signal. This is one of the things with a vocoder, is you can lock it in with a piece of audio. By just changing this, you can actually choose the kind of audio that you want to. So I'm just using this sync rather than this pulling it from a vocal. And you'll want to play with that depending on your setup. I will share this screenshot as I will share the notes. One of the parts that I wasn't too sure about and I didn't really care for from the actual score was this part, so I've just muted it. I will share this audio, but for now I have just muted it. I might bring that in a bit later once I get the balance right. So let's move on. We've also put a tape delay on this track and just a bit of compressor. The bus 1 is our reverb. Just a nice little bit of delay, and a lot of these tracks do have this lovely lush delay. For the moment I've just put it straight down the middle so it compensates with the main vocal, and as you can see it's quite low in the mix. Right, this next part, once again just a nice little backing vocal. This is what I've got it sounding like so far, and it's quite hidden in the mix. Bring that up. Okay. And I can probably leave that a bit higher anyway. But it's quite hidden in the mix, and once again I'll share these notes so you've got that. And with it all kind of coming in together, this is what we've got. Okay, how that sounds with the main vocal.
This will be my monument. This will be a beacon when I'm gone.
And balance is a really important part with this. So if we just look at the automation, you will see that as we go through, we do automate it a little bit. This one is kind of left at one level. I may have to look at that again. Next thing then, we have two vocals. This first one is kind of like this lo-fi sound. As you can see from my EQ, I've just literally cut off all of the low frequencies just to leave these high frequencies, so it kind of punches through the mix. It's kind of this lo-fi sound. So that's the first thing. The noise gate, just general settings from this vocal track that we've got. We've also got a phaser, which was really useful, and we've also got a ring shifter, which is part of the main thing actually. And then finally we have an auto filter. Once again, I'll share all these screenshots so you can have a look at how I've done it. It's not completely the way they've got it, but it's not sounding too bad. The auto filter is giving it this nice little panning effect, and it makes the sound a bit more lively. So let me just show you that on its own first, and we'll start adding some of these extra parts in. And put that with the main vocal.
Gone when I'm gone.
Okay, so pretty unimpressive on its own, but it's just this lo-fi sound. The next one that I've kind of doubled up from this main audio is this higher octave, and I'm getting the impression that underpinning all this is this higher octave part, and I've just used this vocal transformer to do this. Just by lifting up the whole key by an octave, it just gives me kind of this kind of chipmunky sound, and underpinning it doesn't sound too bad. So let me show you these three parts together. I'll show you this one on its own first so you can see what I've got. Remember that one? Remember these two?
I'm gone when I'm...
So as you can see, it's starting to build up. There's still more work to do there and lots more experimenting, but this is what I've got so far, and I'm just kind of balancing all these different parts together to try and get this blend. So let me just play it as I've got in my mix so far, just so you can see, and then I'll let you guys crack on. Play theirs as well, just so you can see kind of how it compares.
This will be my monument. This will be
too bad. It still needs a bit of work, but it's a good starting point just to show you guys how to layer up some sounds and kind of get something achieved. Now, crack on with that. In the last instrument video, we're just going to look at some of the extra parts that you need.